He stepped up to the ockey like he had done 1,000 times before, but this time something felt different. The trademark lime green shirt, gone. The fire in his eyes, duller. The roar of the crowd, muted, unsure. Michael van Gerwen was back, but he didn't look like the same man who once dominated darts like no one before him. For over a decade, Van Gerwen was a force of nature. He wasn't just winning, he was steamrolling. Opponents feared him, fans adored him, broadcasters built entire tournaments around his performances, but in 2025, everything shifted. Because behind the scenes, his personal life was quietly falling apart, and when it finally collapsed, it sent shockwaves through the sport. But before we go deeper into what happened and why this comeback could either be the start of a second reign or the final act of a legend, do me one favour. If you've ever watched MVG throw a 180 and scream to the heavens, hit that like button. And if you want more behind-the-scenes darts stories the mainstream never covers, subscribe. You won't regret it. Now, let's get into it. On May 20th, 2025, the headlines hit the Dutch media like a thunderclap. Michael van Gerwen and wife Daphne confirmed divorce after 11 years. For most fans, the news came out of nowhere, but for those paying close attention, the signs had been there. Behind the signature confidence and aggression on stage, MVG had seemed off in recent months. His interviews became more clipped, his reactions during matches weren't quite as sharp. There were fewer celebrations, he was still winning, just not as much. And when he lost, it wasn't with the same fire we were used to. There was a quietness to him, a heaviness. He and Daphne had been together since before the fame, before the trophies. She was a constant presence in the early days, cheering from the crowd, supporting him through the pressure. But somewhere along the line, something fractured. Maybe it was the relentless travel, maybe it was the weight of success. Maybe it was just time. The official statement was respectful, no scandals, no accusations, just an amicable split. But those close to MVG said the breakup hit him hard, emotionally, mentally and physically. In the months leading up to the divorce, Van Gerwen's game started slipping. Not dramatically, not in freefall, but enough that people began whispering. At the Premier League nights, his averages dipped. In press conferences, his body language changed. He seemed tired, disconnected. Less Mighty Mike, more just Mike. Some pointed to natural decline. After all, he'd been at the top for over a decade. Others wondered if injuries were creeping in. But insiders believed it was deeper than that. Burnout, maybe even depression. Then, just as the season ramped up, MVG went dark. He didn't formally withdraw from events. He just didn't show. No big announcement, no media blitz, no tell-all interview. For a player who had always been front and centre, the silence was deafening. And in that void, the speculation exploded. When MVG finally resurfaced in June at a Modus Super Series event in Wergem, Belgium, the moment was quietly surreal. There was no PDC camera crew, no grand reintroduction, just a name on the bracket. But when he walked onto the stage, fans instantly noticed something had changed. He wasn't wearing his iconic lime green shirt, the colour he made famous, the shade that symbolised aggression, dominance, legacy. Instead, he appeared in a darker, muted black and green hybrid. A symbolic shift, a fashion choice, or something deeper. People couldn't stop talking about it. In darts, image matters. Phil Taylor had his aura. Peter Wright has his mohawk. MVG's green had become part of his identity. Ditching it wasn't just a branding change, it was a message. This wasn't the same Michael van Gerwen. In that first tournament back, his throw looked sharp, technically sound. His scores were consistent, but something felt hollow. Gone were the roars after big checkouts. Gone were the smirks when he punished opponents. He didn't look like a man trying to prove something. He looked like a man trying to rediscover himself. One match, one moment in particular stood out. He hit a 180, crowd roared, commentators leaned in, and MVG simply turned, walked back and waited for his next turn. No emotion, no fire, no show. Fans online were divided. Some said he looked focused, matured, evolved. Others feared he'd lost that primal edge, the thing that made him terrifying to play against. And if you ask any top pro, they'll tell you Darts is as much mental as it is mechanical. Confidence wins matches, swagger wins legs. If your opponent believes they've lost before the first dart is thrown, you've already won. Without that, who is MVG now? Let's not forget the battleground MVG returns too. In his absence, Luke Littler became the story of darts. The teenage phenom didn't just fill the void, he dominated it, and alongside him, Luke Humphries surged to become a world champion. Gerwen Price, despite controversy, remained electric. And Michael Smith, still lurking, still dangerous. This new guard wasn't raised in fear of Van Gerwen. They're confident, aggressive, unshaken. And in some ways, that makes them more dangerous than Phil Taylor's rivals ever were. So how does MVG fit back into this world? That's the million-pound question. Is he a legend coasting on name value? Or is he about to launch a second act fueled by pain, by loss, by a desire to remind everyone that he's still the monster in the room? Let's talk numbers. In Wareham, his tournament average sat around the mid-90s. Solid, not spectacular. His checkout percentage hovered just below his peak years. But the mechanics of his throw, still elite, still deadly. So the foundation is there. But darts is about more than numbers. It's about dominance, about rhythm, about pressure. Can he still scare opponents? Can he still flip momentum with one perfect leg? Can he still take over a venue with one roar? Or is the era of intimidation over? Redemption or reinvention? Here's where the story gets personal. MVG doesn't need the money, he doesn't need the fame. He's a multimillionaire, a legend, a guaranteed Hall of Famer. But what he might need is purpose. And sometimes pain provides that. The loss of a marriage, the silence of a house, the feeling that something's been taken from you. That can break a man, or it can forge him into something unrecognizable. And judging by that new shirt, that cold stare, that ice in his walk, Michael Van Gerwen may be choosing the second path. He might not want to be the old MVG. He might want to become something entirely new. What's next? With the World Match Play approaching and the Premier League in full swing, MVG has choices to make. Will he go all in and chase the crown again? Or will he pick his battles, manage his schedule and aim for legacy, not dominance? Whichever path he chooses, the darts world will be watching. Because love him or hate him, Van Gerwen moves the needle. When he's on, the sport feels bigger. When he's absent, it feels like something's missing. And now, he's back. Different, quieter, darker, but back. They say legends don't fade, they evolve. But sometimes evolution is painful. Sometimes it takes everything breaking for something stronger to emerge. Michael Van Gerwen isn't chasing headlines, he's chasing peace, focus, maybe redemption, maybe reinvention. He doesn't need to scream anymore, because when you're truly dangerous, you don't have to say a word. What do you think? Will MVG rise again and silence his doubters? Or has the darting world moved on without him? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the game's biggest legends, wildest scandals, and untold stories. This is the story the cameras didn't show you, and it's only just begun.